description goes over the job title, job location, summary, things like that. And the specifications focus on the qualifications and experience. And both the job description and job specifications are integral parts of the job analysis. So like Kelly, I previously worked at Aspen Marketing, and they were hiring for business-to-business sales positions. It was really hard to get people interested in sales. So they would kind of manipulate their job descriptions a little bit, and they would, instead of saying it was a sales position, they would say it's a recruiting position or a marketing position. And this did result in getting more applicants through the door, but it ultimately just raised the turnover rate because the job description was very deceiving. So just to summarize, the job description and job specifications are two integral parts of the job analysis. They define a job fully and guide both employer and employee. And they are both extremely relevant in creating the right fit between talent and job.
Okay, so human resource planning process. So 3 things you need to take away from this is objectives, compare, and identify. So organizations should perform HR planning to meet objectives. They should compare their current state to their future goals, and identify where they want to go within an organization. So assessing HR, you should take an inventory of your workers and skills already available within the organization and a comprehensive job analysis. Look at external, internal environment, forecasting, and things of that nature. So human resources planning process. So you're going to do supply and demand forecasting, match supply and demand to solve shortages and surpluses, and you're going to develop an action plan which includes implementation and evaluation. So there are 6 steps, but out of these 6 steps, there are 3 that I want you to focus on, which is analyzing organizational objectives, formulating the human resource action plan, and monitoring controls and feedback. So where are we going? This is where you develop your organizational objectives. Human resources must meet the strategic goals and operational goals of the organization, but this is through production, marketing, finance, expansion, sales. It all gives us an idea of where we want to go. So also to do this, to put this action plan, and you need to have different strategies for structuring, outsourcing, collaboration are different ways that, different strategies that organizations can use to put their action plan into play. Then you have training and development strategies. Recruitment strategies also go into play. Training and development is really popular because a lot of organizations want to take their candidates and develop them and grow them from the beginning. So documenting, then you must document the strategic HR planning. That's really important so that it can be delivered throughout the organization properly. Then you must implement, and everyone must agree to this plan and have an idea of what's going on. And communication is really important. From the top down, everyone needs to understand this new strategic plan that is put in place to help the organization move forward and where the organization is trying to go. You should also take a look at legislation as well. So monitoring, control, and feedback. You need evaluation. The employees' feedback does matter because you want to see if these plans that you're implementing are helping or hurting the organization in terms of the employees. So recently I worked at TD Bank and they went through a major organizational restructuring, and one of the key things that I took away from it was communication. We had a lot of meetings, large, small teams, departments that really had to get translated throughout the rest of the organization. And just to summarize, you need to look at organizational objectives, the inventory of human resourcing, forecasting, estimate gaps, shortages or surpluses, and then finally an action plan and feedback. So current status of human resources. Most difficult and overlooked process is how to count heads. So the issues include full-time, part-time, temporary workers, retirement, internal promotions, things of that nature. So currently I work at Enterprise, and one of the things that they do is internal promotions. But even though internal promotions is great for the employee, it's really hard for HR because you have to fill, once you move one person, you have to fill all of those positions that follow. So also, the main difference also between counting heads is finance typically report and track head counts on call centers. But HR, we do it based on role boundaries, managerial, or supervisor hierarchy. So it's kind of a difference and can cause some differences in how they're counting. So then also HR change process. So there's a lot of change going on, and you need to be able to, HR needs to be able to keep up with it as well. So you need to look at workforce management systems, administrative applications, and things of that nature. So Also, changes must also be documented and verified so that they do not adversely affect the workers based on discrimination, age, race, sex. Also, in some cases, you need to notify unions. And also, another big problem is who is a worker. So, like I said, you have these full-time and part-time. But also, the solutions to deal with this is to adopt a broader and adaptable definition for what a worker is so it can be translated throughout the organization. So some of the challenges that are faced are the full-time workers at the near of retirement and proposed restructuring of call centers by financial planners. So also, where are we at? Originally, HR was more of a compliance function, but today it's about attracting, retaining, and developing talent. Does HR have the capabilities to adapt to the change of our current economic situation? So as you can see here, this was a chart from Deloitte, but it kind of ranges of where organizations are in their HR performance. So it shows here that excellent is about 5 to 3% for HR's organizational performance. So just to summarize, you should align your HR and finance headcount reporting and tracking. CEOs are kind of concerned about the talent, but that's why HR is here to help with the lack of skills or to develop the best talent. So next, Dylan will talk with forecasting.
All right, so forecasting is very important in any type of organization that you're in. It determines the supply and demand for all the positions to predict if you're going to have a shortage or a surplus of employees, which is very important. And it is really important because it answers a bunch of different questions. Different things like, will you be developing or expanding your service or product range? Is there any new technology coming out that's going to affect your staffing? Different things like that that are important for an organization to know for the next 3 to 5 years in growth. Again, the surplus or gap in labor is what can potentially hurt or benefit your organization. If you're underperforming, you might have a gap in your labor where you don't have enough people, or if your profitability is getting hurt, you might have a surplus. There's 2 different ways that you could assess forecasting, either quantitatively or qualitatively, it seems like. And the big businesses are mostly in the quantitative, and the reason being is because it's very expensive to do quantitative research. However, qualitative research does have its benefits, which is why a lot of smaller businesses use it. You get a lot of answers from people inside the organization that are highly affected by the growth, that they might need extra people, and you wouldn't know that unless you ask them themselves, which is why smaller businesses do it, and also some big businesses. Different steps to forecasting include forecasting for labor demand, forecasting for labor supply, determining the labor shortage or surplus. And these steps are very important to do in any organization that you're in. And the reason being is because you need to do it for each and every area. If you miss any areas, you might still see that shortage or surplus. It secures you for the future if you do it correctly for the next 3 to 5 years, depending on how long you forecast out to. You have a plan for the growth that you're assuming is going to happen. A trend analysis is something that also is used in forecasting. It's constructing and applying statistical models that predict labor demand for the next year, given relatively objective stats from your previous year. Basically, all that is using different stats that you would have in your organization called leading indicators in order to make this trend analysis. Leading indicators are objective measures that accurately predict future labor demands. It's important to use these again for trend analysis. It determines different measures. It's based on your growth or lack of growth, and a few different leading indicators. It could be turnover or unemployment. Your turnover rate is very important for forecasting because in previous years, if you could tell how many people quit or how many people are going to be leaving your organization, you can know, you have a solid prediction of what's going to happen later. Also, age distribution and education level. Age distribution, say you have a lot of people in your organization who are near retirement. That way you know for the future you're going to need more people, younger people in their education level if they're educated enough to compete with other organizations. The matrix is a chart listing job categories showing where the incumbents came from. This answers 2 questions, like where did people go in each job category and where are they now, where did they come from? Matrix is kind of hard to understand, so I put up the chart here. If you want to look from 2011, you would go horizontally, or 2013, you would go vertically. So say the lead phone representative in 2011, 5% of them came from the call center, phone supervisors, 60% stayed in this position, and 35% were in 8, which would be not in the organization anymore. This is really important for an organization to see where everyone's going how people are being moved around, and who's not in the organization anymore. If you forecast correctly and you find that the right sizing is down for your organization, there are many different options you could go with. There are different things like obviously firing people, laying people off. Early retirement is a popular thing, offering people who have been there for a long time an early retirement package in order for them to leave. Sometimes you go from full-time employees to part-time employees. Sometimes people are in positions that they're not qualified for, and you've seen that. You use a demotion for that. If you use your forecasting correctly and find that right sizing up is the way for your organization, there are many different other things you could do besides just hiring new people. You could demand overtime from your employees to help fix that gap. You can hire some temporaries. That way you're not permanently set with a full-time employee. Outsourcing is very popular, and a lot of people do. If you have a surplus in work, you outsource it to other organizations. Turnover reduction is really probably the best route that you could do. In summary, the importance of forecasting is so all organizations understand where they're going in the future and they're prepared for it. The importance of the matrix is so you know where your employees are going and where they come from and how many are leaving your organization. And your options for growth or downsizing are very important to know, so that way you're not just hiring and firing people. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope you were informed.
All right. Let's see.